Good morning, everyone, to this press briefing this morning on Samantha Cristoforetti's new flight assignment. The trailer you have just seen is our new Space Care trailer, which is showing and highlighting the fact that as ESA, we are engaged in all domains of space for the benefit of Europe and its citizens. And Samantha's upcoming mission to the International Space Station is one example of that. This is an English language press conference we're having here today. It is also on our ESA Web TV live stream. You are all entitled at the end towards the questions and answer sessions to also ask questions, of course, in any of the languages we speak, and in particular, I can imagine in Italian. Let me introduce the speakers that are with me here today. I have, of course, Samantha Cristoforetti, our ESA astronaut. I have with me our new ESA Director General, Josef Aschbacher, David Parker, ESA Director, Human and Robotic Exploration, and from the Italian Space Agency, the ESA President, Giorgio Saccoccia. Welcome. We have 3 upcoming missions in a row for ESA to the International Space Station scheduled. The first of our astronauts to leave is Thomas Pesquet, who will fly on the 20th of April this year, followed by Matthias Maurer towards the end of October this year. And then, of course, Samantha, who has just been assigned to a new mission in the spring of 2022. So as we're preparing and continue to use the International Space Station as a test bed for future exploration that will bring us forward to the moon, I'm very happy here that we're here today and can bring you some of the messages that are aligned with that. This will be the second space flight for Samantha, who is a member of ESA's 29 class of astronauts. And during her first ESA mission Futura in 2014-15, she spent already around 200 days in space, carrying out science and operations on the International Space Station as a flight engineer. But let me start with you, Josef, as our new ESA Director General. As 3 of the ESA class of 2009 astronauts will fly to the International Space Station this year and next year, ESA at the same time is also looking for new astronauts with vacancy notices opening on 31st of March. Why is that? Why are we looking for new astronauts at the same time that we have our current class going to the International Space Station? I think you're muted, Josef.
Is it working
yes,
now?
Yeah, very good.
Okay. So thank you, Ninja, and very warm welcome also from my side. It is indeed my 3rd day in office as the new DG of ESA, and you can imagine it's a very busy period, but I'm particularly happy to have very early in my DG-ship this press conference, because having astronauts and announcing astronauts going to the space station is always a highlight and a very big event. So I'm really glad, and especially Samantha Cristoforetti, whom I know personally very well, is a great pleasure really to announce Samantha's future flight. So why do we look for new astronauts? Of course, today's highlight is Samantha's flight next year. But if you allow me to just take you back for a moment to the event which is also ongoing right now, which is the astronaut selection. We had a big press event on the 16th of February, where we have been announcing the new class of astronauts which we are looking for at the moment, or not at the moment. The applications will open on the 31st of March, and we expect the closing date to be on the 28th of May, so about 2 months, where candidates can apply for this dream job, which is to become an astronaut. And I'm sure there's many young people, ladies, men who are very eager to submit their applications and probably are putting the dossier together. So why do we have this announcement now, as we have already 7 extremely capable astronauts in our current class? Of course, it is clear Samantha and her colleagues are highly qualified and very young, and there's no intention to very soon not having them in space anymore, because they have already been in space, but they will have many more years ahead, and hopefully many more missions. But of course, we do need to renew our astronaut class, our astronaut corps. And we are having had the last selection in 2009, as you have just said, in India, and now we will have one this year, or next year will be the end of the procedure. So it is necessary to really renew and get a new group of people on board for several reasons. First, of course, there's a lot of work up in the sky, which is waiting for the astronauts. Also, the new ambitions which we have signed partner agreements with NASA to also work with them on the gateway, and eventually send astronauts beyond the ISS towards the moon, and eventually in the next decade even further towards Mars. And this, of course, is a new group of people with a horizon that goes way beyond this decade, even into the next decade. And that's why we are recruiting right now a new corps of astronauts which we are selecting. So there's a lot of excitement on astronauts, the new ones to come. But of course, today, let us focus on Samantha, because this is one of the key upcoming events, and I'm really very happy to see this announcement today, because this will be a highlight for us in the next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Josef. So to summarize, the new astronauts are not replacing our current astronauts. Exploration is a collective effort, and we need to extend the pool of talents we can rely on in order to continue progressing in this endeavor. David Parker, our Director for Human Spaceflight, we learned that the ISS still has a future, and that ESA will be one of the international partners going forward to the moon. How exactly will that look like?
Thank you, Nini. Great question. Well, first of all, my greetings to everyone on this press event, and obviously my congratulations to Samantha. And also thank you to our new Director General for finding the time to join us. Well, yes, this is a really exciting time for ESA's space exploration program, like you mentioned. Thomas Pesquet will shortly be the first European astronaut to fly to the International Space Station on a US commercial vehicle. So he's our ESA astronaut with a French passport. There will be another first later this year when ESA astronaut with a German passport, Matthias Maurer, flies for the first time to the International Space Station. But yes, our focus today is on Samantha's second mission to the ISS. But the obvious question is, what are all these missions for? The answer is discovery, innovation, and inspiration. We are entering an exciting decade of discovery and innovation from Columbus, Europe's science lab aboard the space station. It's the golden era of using the ISS, the International Space Station, research in biology, life sciences, materials, pharmaceuticals, as well as many education projects to motivate children in our schools. So that's why we're in the middle of a kind of midlife update of the Columbus laboratory. So we've got a new communications terminal to give high-speed data links to get our data down from the space station. We've got several commercial modules aboard the space station, and Bartolomeo is a new element that's just been integrated to the space station. And even the IT infrastructure and the experiment racks are being upgraded. But as our Director General implied, exploration is an endless journey of discovery, and we're looking forward already. We're building six European service modules for Orion that will propel astronauts to the Lunar Gateway. This will be humanity's most distant research outpost and our kind of spaceport for sustained exploration of the moon. And so we're building two out of the 4 modules for the Gateway in Europe. And yes, we've already agreed now with NASA that 3 European astronauts will fly to the Lunar Gateway in this decade. And to explore the surface of the moon, Italian industry, for example, is already working on Prospect, an ice drill and sensor, to explore and try and taste the water that we now believe is on the surface of the moon. So what Samantha will be doing aboard the ISS is science and research that's valuable back here on Earth, but also preparing us to go further towards the moon, our second home in the solar system. So my very last thought, beyond all this technology and science, I do insist that everything we do in international cooperation, global space exploration is to inspire humanity and the next generation, really valuable at the moment. And it's the passion and the commitment of the people at ESA that is propelling Europe forward in this new era of space exploration and propelling Samantha on her mission. So I know you're eager to hear about her contribution. So congratulations from everybody at the ESA team to Samantha for this new assignment. And let's keep exploring together. Thank you very much, Nina.
Thank you very much, Dave. Samantha, this is your second space flight following your Futura mission in 2014-15. You were back then 200 days, I think, in space. Since then you were back. What kept you busy in these past years? What have you done? I understand astronauts are very busy when they're back on Earth. You're still muted. Thank you. I don't hear you, Samantha. Valeria, can you unmute Samantha?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Wonderful. So from my side as well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining, and of course, a special thanks to our Director General who joined us today, to our Director for Human and Robotics Exploration, and of course to ESA President Giorgio Saccoccia, who will speak shortly. Yes, indeed, it's been exciting few years since I came back, and I'm very grateful actually that I had the chance of really, I think, growing professionally, as well as giving back from my experience as an astronaut. And as Director Parker already mentioned, we are very much, as we continue to exploit this amazing platform in Earth orbit, the International Space Station, for research and discovery and technological development. At the same time, we are looking forward to the next step, which is going forward to the moon. And actually, in the past few years, I participated in two projects or two activities that were very, very much focused on that. First, I led Spaceship ESA, our student-centered initiative here at the European Astronaut Center in Cologne, where we have brilliant young men and women working on technologies, very future-oriented technologies for moon surface exploration. And then a couple of years ago, I joined the Gateway program for ESA, and I worked in this amazing team of engineers that are working on IHAB, the International Habitat, and I was able to give my little contribution from the perspective of an astronaut in terms of crew system and habitability issues. And of course, I'm especially excited about that because Italy and the Italian industry are leading that effort of first developing and then manufacturing that module for ESA.
Thank you, Samantha. Good that you say it. There are indeed also national contributions to the science program and done by ESA, the Italian Space Agency. Giorgio, you want to tell us something more about that?
Sure, Nina. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Congratulations to Samantha. You can imagine how, you are our pride in Italy, and welcome on board to Josef as the Director General. Italy, ESA, is totally committed to space exploration, both human and robotics. And as it has been recalled already by the Park and by Samantha, also the next steps beyond low Earth orbit, the International Space Station. So the forward to the moon has a strong commitment from the Italian side. And in this respect, we have discussed back in Sevilla our support to ESA activities from the Italian point of view, and we are very happy that today, with the announcement of Samantha's flight, we see the promise that was basically discussed at the time between ESA and the Italian representative there is maintained, to see Samantha fly. Together with the other contribution that Italy is giving, like the prime contractorship of IHAB, which was just mentioned, and other important important commitment. The experiments that Samantha will fly, will conduct on the space station during her flight are very much also in line with this intention to support also long-term exploration from the Italian side. For example, she will continue experiments that were already carried out by Luca Parmitano before to monitor the behavior of the astronaut body structures and to in such a way that the energy, the food intake can be controlled and used to enhance the performance and the well-being of astronauts during the flight. And this is looking forward to what will be maybe long-term travel in space in the future. There are other activities that will be in the same optics. And at the same time, ASI is still conducting a call for ideas for new experiences, and Samantha will carry it out. But there is also, just to finish, something very important. Samantha already mentioned it. She will continue to contribute to the educational aspect of spaceflight. Space inspires people, young generations, and of course, in particular, exploration. So every astronaut is an ambassador for future generation. Samantha will be even more. She will contribute for sure to attract more and more young generation, girls and boys to STEM subject, which is really what we need to create a sustainable future and a sustainable growth for our next generations.
Thank you, Giorgio Saccoccia from ASI, Italian Space Agency. This is our introduction. I know that most of you joined the session because you would like to ask questions and get more detailed information on some of the things that are of particular interest to you. There is a possibility that you raise your questions here on the right-hand side in the chat. I will then give you the word so you can formulate your questions yourself. I don't necessarily have to read it. We will turn on the microphone. We will not turn on the camera, so rest assured. You don't have to change your settings now. Camera will be turned off. We'll just turn on the microphone and then you can ask yourself. And if it doesn't work for whatever reason, I can, of course, read the question for you. But if you can flag it in the chat on the right-hand side, that would be appreciated. Giorgio Saccoccia from TG2 Rai. I see that you had a question, Giorgio, on the mission itself and the experiments. What is the program and the new experiments? I think Samantha has already mentioned quite a bit there. And Giorgio, is there anything else you would like to know in regards to this? Can we see if your microphone's working? Giorgio Saccoccia, TG2 Rai.
Yes.
Welcome.
Do you understand me?
Yes, very well.
Also, the question is the exact question you said. What is the new program of this mission, and which are the new experiments, if you can tell me? So.
Yes, I think this could be a question for both Samantha and Giorgio, maybe. Samantha, do you want to start?
Yes, absolutely. I think President Saccoccia already mentioned that from the Italian point of view, the announcement of opportunity and the selection of dedicated experiments for the mission is still ongoing. And he already mentioned that in any case, I will continue some experiments that have already started, in addition to the new ones who will be selected and developed in the next coming weeks and months. However, I did want to mention a couple of highlights that we expect, let's say, from the overall European research effort. And of course, maybe I should mention what I will be doing on orbit is obviously not limited to European and Italian science, but when we are up there, of course, we are available as astronauts to perform experiments with the entire worldwide research community who works on ISS. But from ESA side, we do have a few highlights which are definitely exciting for next year. We will be commissioning a new science rack in Columbus, which is called EDR Mark II, so the European Drawer Rack, which is already on board. It's patiently waiting a slot, an active slot, to be installed and commissioned. And that will host something which I really think is quite exciting also for future exploration. Eventually, it will host the first 3D printer, space 3D printer for metal. So not plastics anymore, but actual metal. We will also next year install the first payload on Bartolomeo. Bartolomeo is this commercial facility outside of Columbus. So for payloads that need to be exposed to the environment outside. And that's the multi-needle Langmuir probe, which will observe, measure, analyze the electron density in the plasma in the upper atmosphere. That's relevant, for example, to understand how that affects telecommunication satellites and navigation satellites. So two of those things that are very much based on space assets that we do take for granted in our daily lives. And then, we have more experiments in human physiology, a really interesting one in terms of life support that's going to look at spirulina, this microorganism that's very promising to try and close the life support loop, because it can, as it grows in a photobioreactor, it removes CO2 and nitrates from the atmosphere, and it produces oxygen and grows biomass that can be consumed by astronauts. And then, of course, many more experiments also in physical sciences, and as well as more experiments in life sciences.
Maybe I can just add to what Samantha said so well, is that the opportunity to do experiments on the space station by our astronauts is so attractive for scientists, but not only for scientists, but also for people who are interested in understanding what type of products, new technologies can be developed on board the space station in microgravity conditions. That, of course, here in Italy we have a very eager environment to propose experiments, and my colleagues here at the Italian Space Agency are very busy trying to select the best or the most suitable one, and hopefully Samantha can bring some of those in her flight.
Thank you, Giorgio. I see that there are also several questions from Manuel De Luca that go a bit in this direction, really quite detail on the kind of experiments, the robotic arm, will there be any EVAs? Maybe I can give you the word directly, Manuel De Luca. We will turn on your microphone.
Can you hear me?
And you can ask yourself. Yes, we hear you very well.
Okay,
welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining me. First, I want to bring all greetings from all the members of Astronaut News. I think that Samantha will appreciate it. And my first question, well, you were very clear about the experiments, so I will ask a question about the knockout laboratory, because after a long series of tests, the knockout laboratory will be launched, we hope so, into orbit next month, together with the ERA robotic arm. So my question is, does your training, Samantha, therefore include preparation for the experiments to be conducted in the new Russian module, or the use of the ERA robotic arm? And I would like to ask you another question, which is, kind of personal, but I think it's a good point. How will you leave the detachment for your daughter or your family, and how are you preparing yourself for this? Thank you.
Do you want to take that question, Samantha? And then maybe Dave can add to that.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I'm pretty sure that Dave probably knows more than I do about the plans for ERA. So why don't we let Dave?
Let's start with this one. Yeah, I think he mentioned the Nauka laboratory and indeed the European robotic arm.
Yes, so to explain, the Nauka laboratory is a new Russian laboratory for the International Space Station. Yes, it's been a long time in development, but it's going to be launched in the next few months. It will find its own way up to the space station and be docked. And yes, aboard it is ERA, the European robotic arm. I actually have some of our team in Moscow at the moment and then at Baikonur preparing for the launch. And yes, part of the activities that we foresee for next year may involve the commissioning of the European robotic arm and starting to use it and demonstrate its functionality, something we've been waiting for a very long time. So that's, is another one of these midlife updates to the space station that I was talking about earlier. But I probably should leave Samantha to answer the other question.
Yes, indeed. That's definitely an interesting change for me. Personally, the first time I flew to space station, I did not have a family, I did not have children. However, that's more on the unusual side. I would say most astronauts, just like most people, well, we do typically have a family and children in most cases. So there's of course nothing particularly unusual about this situation. I think what I can say is that we are definitely, let's say, a population of professionals who do rely a lot on the support of our family and our partners. And of course, it's no different in my case. The only reason I can do this, be an astronaut and fly to space, just like my colleagues, like Luca and Paolo, for example, in Italy, is because I have a wonderful, supportive family and a wonderful and supportive partner.
Thank you, Samantha. There were two very specific questions. One was on the spacecraft that will be used, and the other one on the specific launch date. A question for you, Dave, maybe.
Okay, thank you, Nina. Yes, both good questions. So Samantha will be flying on the 4th US commercial vehicle, so the 4th operational US commercial vehicle. Which type of vehicle that is, we don't know today. It depends, as you know, on the parallel development and testing of the 2 US commercial vehicles. That's the SpaceX Dragon, Crew Dragon vehicle, and the Boeing Starliner. And actually, it's just incredibly busy at the space station these days with multiple different cargo vehicles flying there and back again, bringing cargo back. So with Progress, the Japanese HTV, and the 2 US cargo vehicles, the Soyuz and the 2 US crew vehicles. And so the exact timing of Samantha's mission is also difficult to say. About a year from now is probably the best I can say. So that's why we say spring of next year. Sorry, I can't be more precise right now.
Thank you, Dave. There are several questions. One question, to be specific, from Agnieszka. Agnieszka, we can give you the microphone if you want to ask that question yourself, because it's quite a funny one. Can you hear us, Agnieszka? Agnieszka? So while we might have difficulties connecting Agnieszka, her question was, and I will read that one to you, Samantha, is, you were the first person who brewed espresso in space. I don't know if that's true. What are you planning to do for the first time in space this time around?
I don't know. I have a few ideas, which might or might not be as exciting, of course, as the first espresso, but that would be a little bit too early to give it away.
Thank you, Samantha. And there's one more question from to Giorgio, actually, in a totally different context. Giorgio, this question is in regards to the new Italian government. The previous Italian government has supported space exploration quite significantly. What do you expect from the new one? This is a question from Maria Antonietta. We can also give you the microphone if you want to, Maria.
Okay, well, I think I can.
Yeah, in the meantime, we'll already start.
Okay, well, the new government is very new, and we have not yet addressed in detail specifically space subjects. On the other hand, space has been over the years here in Italy a subject of a high priority and interest and support from governments, and I expect this will continue to be. In particular, what I can say is that, of course, the new government, the Prime Minister has expressed the importance of the role of Italy inside the European context, inside, in a perspective of Atlantic relations. So exploration fits perfectly in this scheme. Collaboration on exploration activities through ESA, so within Europe, in possible bilateral interaction with the US in the framework of the Artemis program. It fits so well that I can only expect a continuous and even increased support in the future.
So, can I say something?
Yes, please. You're connected now. Welcome.
Thank you, President Saccoccia. Because I saw that, unfortunately, Riccardo Fraccaro was confirmed for his role. So you made a lot in this last 2 years for the space, for Eurospace, with a lot of investment. We see also that we have a new minister who we journalists see in last New Space Economy. That was Roberto. Oh, I forget now. Sorry, I'm a little. So I hope that will didn't stop this strong push by Italy government. We hope that we didn't stop that. Can I have a little question for Samantha Cristoforetti? Okay. Hello, Samantha. It's always a beautiful news from your career. And this is the second time so you will fly with Dragon, no? So you not with the Soyuz?
It's not confirmed, as Dave has already mentioned before. Spacecraft is not confirmed.
So there's a possibility to go with the Soyuz, okay.
No, let me clarify again. So Samantha will be flying to the International Space Station on a US commercial vehicle, and it's the operational mission number 4, so it's called USCV4. But which of the 2 vehicles it is, the Crew Dragon or the Boeing Starliner, is not yet decided. Does that help?
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. But Samantha, just a little question. What for sure you will not take with you respect last year? Because I know that the astronauts have really short stuff that you can bring with you to the International Space Station. So this is a curiosity. What for sure you, because you did the first experience, you will not bring with you, and you bring another things with your stuff.
I don't know, Maria Antonietta. That's a very good question, and I will certainly give some thought to that at some point. But I think I haven't done that yet, so I'm not ready to answer that question.
Thank you, Samantha. There is a question from Emilio Cozzi, who is asking how long you will remain in space next year.
Yeah, good morning, Emilio. It's probably, again, a question that Dave has more insight into, but I think we don't know the exact duration at this point, but more likely than not, it will be a typical rotation of roughly 6 months on space station, unless Dave has different information.
No, nothing to add to that. Quite correct. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Samantha. I think, if I see it correctly, there are no questions left, but maybe I have skipped someone. So if anybody feels that a question you have had has not been raised, or you have a new question, please let us know now in the chat on the right side.
Nina, I see a question from Stefan Sebil, not able to speak, so maybe you can relay the question to Samantha. It was what were your feeling when you learned of the new assignment?
Quite not surprisingly, I imagine. I mean, it was a feeling of extreme joy and gratefulness for this opportunity. As we've mentioned before, I've had the amazing professional opportunities in the last few years to grow and to contribute, but I'm an astronaut, and we do have this tendency of wanting to go back to space as soon as possible. And it's definitely been a while, so I'm very, very happy and ready, I would say more than ready, to dive back into training, which I've started already, by the way. I've been training for some time now already, diving back into the ISS world. Some things have stayed the same, but many things have changed. The vehicle, of course, will be different this time. So I guess the positive side of having waited a few years is that the mission will have some different aspects to it. Again, definitely the vehicle will not be the Soyuz this time. It will be a US vehicle. So that's kind of exciting to be able to fly a new spaceship. As Dave has mentioned multiple times, space station has been undergoing for a while this midlife upgrade. So new hardware up there, new operations, a lot more really interesting experiments. You know, it's a mix of just the joy of going back to space and finding this place up there that, you know, I've just had a great time up there the first time. You know, I call it my home away from home, and I really mean that. But also really the looking forward to the professional challenge of, you know, flying this mission in this new and evolved, and I think also in many ways more mature environment.
Thank you, Samantha. I see we have a question from a journalist from the Czech Republic, Martin, who is interested if ESA would ever consider 2 astronauts at the same time to the International Space Station. Martin, do you want to take the microphone? Do you want to extend on that question?
Hello, yeah, maybe to add the second question, if there's a possibility of ESA astronauts flying on Soyuz again. Thank you.
Maybe a question for you, Dave.
Yes, so the way the International Space Station program works, we have rights we have about an 8% shareholder of the US part of the space station program, or the international partners. So we have a right to about 1 flight per year in normal terms. So that makes it quite difficult to fly 2 at the same time. But that is why we're in quite an exceptional situation, because of a very strong support of our member states. So that's ministerial. We're having this succession of flights, 2 this year and 1 next year. And that's really an exceptional situation, thanks to strong support. In terms of flying astronauts on Soyuz again, well, again, our flight opportunities are obtained through a barter arrangement with NASA. That means we don't send euros across the Atlantic, and we don't send euros to the Russians in the past when we flew on Soyuz. Those Soyuz flights were obtained by a Russian partner, by a US partner from Russia. What we do is we build hardware, and now it's the European service modules that are buying us, if you like, the seats aboard the International Space Station. The partners, particularly the US, are keen to have the possibility of the occasional NASA astronaut flying on the Soyuz and the occasional Russian astronaut flying on the US commercial vehicles, but nothing has been decided definitely so far. So that's the state of play on that topic. Hope that's useful.
Thank you, Dave. There is a question from Giuseppe Sicolo. He is wondering what you feel, Samantha, about tourists on the International Space Station and how you will handle any guests during your stay.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think I do not like the word tourist, so I will call them private astronauts. Yes, these are individuals who are taking or will be taking these opportunities arising from the fact that access to space and also in part to space station is in a way becoming more available to a wider population, really through this commercialization effort that has been going on for a while, both in the US but now also in Europe, not only for space transport, but of course also in terms of availability of platforms in low Earth orbit for research and technology development. So it's actually not impossible that we will have such guests, as you say, during my stay. Of course, from a personal point of view, I'm sure both myself and the rest of the crew will be extremely welcoming and supporting and helping out as much as we can. Of course, we have our primary job is to carry out the work for the space agencies, the partners of ISS. But as far as our personal time allows, I am sure that just like everyone else, we will be very supportive and helpful. In terms of exactly how these operations will take place, how these people will interact with the rest of the crew operationally, where they will sleep, what they will do, I think that has not been fully decided yet.
Thank you, Samantha. I see there are some questions on the para-astronaut project we're going to launch with the new astronaut recruitment campaign now with the vacancy notice opening end of March. Maybe a question to you, Josef, to summarize for those here that do not know the details of that para-astronaut project, what it means, and then a personal question to Samantha. What is your feeling about this? Josef.
Thank you, Ninia. I mean, this is really a novelty which we are doing here in ESA to have for the first time this para-astronaut selection, or actually it starts with a feasibility study to see how this can be accommodated. There is a number of handicaps which we are foreseeing or which we think might be working for an astronaut. Of course, on the mental side, these astronauts have to be top fit, like all the other astronauts. But there may be some of the handicaps that we can accept, and we would really like to open astronauts or the space environment to everyone, to a new community. And this is really something where ESA is pioneering. Also, just right now, writing together with my staff and our member states what I call the Agenda 2025, which would lay out how ESA works in the next couple of years and what is my vision, but also the vision of ESA at large. And certainly inclusiveness and diversity is one of the keywords of this new agenda, to make sure that ESA is there, or space is there for our citizens, is open to everyone. And this para-astronaut call is very much part of this strategy to make sure that we are serving our citizens with space, but we are also open to our citizens in space with whatever ability and contribution they can provide.
Thank you, Samantha. I think the journalists would also like to know what you think about it from a personal point of view.
Right. Well, I'm very much in line with what DG just said. I think I've always seen space exploration and what we do in terms of human space flight as going on two paths, but that are very much going in the same direction. On the one hand, we're really like pushing the boundaries of where we can go, what we can do, where can we build facilities and establish a permanent human presence. And for example, the next step, as we've discussed earlier, is definitely the cislunar space and then the surface of the moon. But the other path, or the other really important aspect, is that as we push that boundary, we also make sure that we consolidate what we have achieved so far, for example, in this case, low Earth orbit, in terms of access and availability. It cannot remain forever just the purview of a very small number of people selected with very narrow criteria, like it's the case for astronauts typically. So I think those individuals we're going to select with some disability are really going to help us to open that door. You know, and it's a little bit of a mental step, and I'll be honest, it wasn't easy for me at the beginning either. You know, I'm also evolving in my thoughts on this, and I think the key is really, it's on us to adapt the technology to make space more accessible, and we are really looking for, you know, with this astronaut feasibility project, for exceptional individuals out there who really would be absolutely qualified to fly to space, you know, to be astronauts, except for some physical disabilities that they have. And so we're really trying to recruit individuals who will be trailblazers, because they will help us to understand how can we adapt the space hardware so that, you know, space becomes more accessible. So we're really looking for the pioneers there.
Thank you, Samantha. I think Pino De Feo, we can give you the word, Pino, in a moment. We can give you the microphone. He would really love to talk to you in Italian, Samantha. I think he's looking for a few questions and answers to be done in Italian. So I think there should not be a problem. By the way, Josef Aschbacher, also fluent in Italian, I know. Pino, can you take the microphone? Can you hear us?
I can try.
It works very well, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, hello Samantha.
Ciao.
Ciao. Could you tell us some details on Italian about your next mission, and what do you think about the Parastronaut project after your initiative with the WeFly team during Futura mission? In Italian, please, your answer. And another question. There will be in your next mission some experiment connected with the Lunar Gateway Station?
Sì, intanto buongiorno. Dunque, sono naturalmente molto felice di tornare nello spazio l'anno prossimo sulla Stazione Spaziale Internazionale. Ci sarà in accompagnamento a questa missione naturalmente un programma di ricerca scientifica molto importante. Continuerò una serie di esperimenti nazionali già in corso per l'Agenzia Spaziale Italiana che avrò l'opportunità di portare avanti, e poi ci sarà un programma sperimentale dedicato che è in corso di selezione in questo momento, nelle ultime fasi, diciamo, di selezione da parte dell'Agenzia Spaziale Italiana. Ci sono sicuramente degli highlight dal punto di vista di ESA previsti per l'anno prossimo. Ci sarà l'installazione del cosiddetto European Droid Rack numero 2, che verrà installato e inizierà le sue operazioni con un primo dimostratore di tecnologia molto interessante, che sarà una stampante 3D per il metallo, che produrrà pezzi metallici. È sicuramente molto interessante per l'esplorazione futura, anche in vista naturalmente di missioni oltre l'orbita bassa. Quindi insomma, di permetterci di essere più autonomi anche dal punto di vista logistico per missioni per esempio intorno alla Luna, e poi naturalmente un giorno anche più lontano. Ci sarà anche il primo esperimento sulla piattaforma esterna Bartolomeo. Quello sarà un esperimento di osservazione e misurazione della densità degli elettroni nel plasma nell'alta atmosfera, una cosa che è anche molto interessante e importante per capire come questo influenza e interagisce con le nostre comunicazioni, i satelliti di comunicazione e anche i satelliti di navigazione. Quindi insomma due tecnologie che ci vengono dallo spazio, insomma, di cui disponiamo grazie agli assetti spaziali, che naturalmente ormai diamo tutti assolutamente per scontate. Va bene così, Pino? Non ti serviva altro?
Ritornare un po' sul Parastronaut Project anche in relazione all'esperienza fatta con il WeFly durante Futura, e poi se ci saranno esperimenti anche connessi con il Lunar Gateway che verrà poi costruito di qui ai prossimi anni. Ne approfitto anche per un'ultimissima, se hai già un nome per la prossima missione.
Allora, sul nome stiamo riflettendo, lo annunceremo penso a breve, penso anche insieme al logo. Per quanto riguarda Il gateway, diciamo che non ci sono degli esperimenti o delle attività che io sappia, almeno magari qualcun altro può intervenire, che siano direttamente poi applicabili al gateway, ma non c'è nemmeno una discontinuità, cioè è tutto diciamo in continuità, no? Come dicevo prima, se facciamo esperimenti su per esempio la manifattura additiva, quindi le stampanti a 3D, oppure per esempio avremo un esperimento sulla spirulina che è utile per fare dei sistemi di supporto alla vita a ciclo chiuso. Quelle sono tutte cose che sicuramente continueremo poi a sperimentare anche su Gateway a un certo punto, ne sono certa, ma che poi soprattutto sono proprio quelle tecnologie che in qualche modo poi spianano la via a in futuro missioni di lunga durata oltre l'orbita bassa, dove bisogna essere naturalmente molto più autonomi sia in termini di logistica che in termini di sistema di supporto alla vita. Per quanto riguarda invece il nostro Parastronaut, il progetto di fattibilità, sì, mi fa piacere che menzioni We Fly con Futura, perché sicuramente c'è una continuità, se vogliamo. We Fly con Futura era un progetto di amicizia, se vogliamo, a cui abbiamo dato visibilità durante la missione Futura, in partnership con WeFly Team, che è una pattuglia acrobatica di piloti che volano tra l'altro amici, che volano su aerei ultraleggeri, facendo insomma questi spettacoli di acrobazia aerea. Ed era proprio un progetto volto a trasmettere un messaggio di empowerment, come si dice oggi, no? Nonostante le difficoltà, nonostante la disabilità, nonostante il fatto che si debbano spesso superare degli ostacoli aggiuntivi quando si hanno delle disabilità, si possono comunque spesso raggiungere risultati molto importanti, e questa è anche un po' l'idea di questo Parastronaut Feasibility Project.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you, Pino. Paolo Ricci, I think your question has been answered in the meantime. If not, let me know. You can turn them, if you want, you can ask another question if it has not been answered. If you want to take the microphone, that's Paolo Ricci.
Mi sentite?
Sì, molto bene.
Grazie, ringrazio Samantha. E le chiedevo, ripensando a quella pagina bellissima che ha scritto nel suo diario di un apprendista astronauta sulla notte in cui ha saputo che sarebbe diventata astronauta, questa volta che differenza di emozione c'è nell'avvicinarsi a questa missione, anche considerando che questa volta andrà in orbita da mamma?
Credo che, se devo essere sincera, credo che l'emozione di quel momento lì in cui mi fu annunciato che ero diventata astronauta, che ero stata selezionata, quelle credo che siano irripetibili, perché quello è veramente un momento di cesura, e, come dire, essere selezionata come astronauta, diventare astronauta è veramente la cosa che uno spera nella vita, ma che è estremamente improbabile. Quindi ricevere quella telefonata, ricevere quell'annuncio è davvero il momento in cui andare nello spazio diventa una possibilità concreta. Quindi credo proprio che l'intensità di quel momento non so se la potrò rivivere. Detto questo, chiaramente la gioia rimane grandissima di poter finalmente tornare sulla stazione spaziale.
Thank you, Samantha. There's a question from Katja Sterzig, maybe to Josef or Dave. How likely is it that Samantha, with her expertise and involvement, will be going to the Lunar Gateway herself one day?
Maybe I start and then I hand over to Dave. The astronauts which we have at the moment, Samantha and her colleagues, are certainly astronauts for a long period to come. So there is not an end date, I would say, given to this astronaut corps. As you also know, or as you have certainly seen in the various announcements, we are having firm plans to go towards the moon, of course, with NASA. I hope we have no confirmed plans or no commitment, but I hope that by the end of this decade, we are reaching the moon. And whether this or who this astronaut will be, of course, this is we are very far away and is not decided. But certainly we are working to go towards the gateway, first to the station and then eventually to the moon. And yes, this is an ambition, and the potentiality of the current class to have one of those astronauts is certainly very real. But I would like to hand over to David, who is much deeper in all this planning and I'm sure knows perfectly well all the situations.
Thank you, Josef. Yeah, I mean, it's a question that absolutely lies in the future. It's clear that we have 3 possible seats for European astronauts to fly on Orion to the Lunar Gateway. That is a firm agreement with our NASA partner. Who and when really has not been thought about yet. Right now, we're working on the planning for the gateway, when the different elements will be launched. It's obvious that we're particularly interested in European astronauts being part, perhaps, of the commissioning and testing of the gateway elements that we're building. But when those missions happen, it hasn't been decided. So therefore, who the astronauts are going to be has also not been decided. And this is where I can say it's one of those decisions that's actually above my pay grade. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave. I see we're now at the end already of this 1-hour press briefing. There might be a few questions that have slipped through. Please, we will have a look at those and get back to the journalists concerned after this press briefing. So do not worry, we'll get an answer to those questions for sure. I want to thank David Parker, Josef Aschbacher, Samantha Cristoforetti, and Giorgio Saccoccia for being here today. And thanks also a lot to all the journalists joining us here, and wishing you all a very nice day. Thank you so much and take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.